Shalom, Kal Halal, Yahweh Shemi Awashai, Bahashim Kakwadash, double honors to the elder apostles and elder bishops of GMS, including the elders that came before them, that taught us this truth. Shalom and salutations to all the brothers that pushing the word in truth and in sincerity, the hopeful elect tabernacle of David. To the Akwat that are listening to learn and being a pillar of rest, the hopeful elect tabernacle of David. Did I say that? The 144,000, the 1/3, the hopeful elect. All right, so I'm the brother Yahshua. I'm back with the WW3 Daily Update. Shalom and salutations to you as well. Start at 5. Habakkuk 2 and 5. Yea, also he transgresseth by wine. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. You're in Ukraine right now. Who enlarges his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but garneth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. All right, let's talk about Esau, but Esau's main habitation right now is Babylon the Great. Shall not all these take up a parable against him? Right, all these nations, all these people. And a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his. What are you doing on Russia's border right now? How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them? Because thou hast spoiled many nations. You want to name some? Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Gaddafi, what's that? Libya, right? Go right down Afghanistan. We go right down the list. Because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee. Because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. Okay, so how long do you think you can continue to spoil and not be spoiled? Anyway, this is Danny Haifong's channel one day ago. Scott rid of Russia's destroying Ukraine's army, and NATO won't survive Putin's next move. We're just going to jump in. I'm going to let him talk for a while and, explain, give you the mood about what, we just read what the Most High is going to do, right? Because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, right? You're trying to enlarge your desire as hell. All right? Anyway, take it away. Scott and Danny.
Russian people. Genuine patriotism. They equate this current conflict with the Second World War. This is an existential struggle for them. And they know their history, and they've applied the lessons of their history to the present. These are deeply patriotic people who support their troops, who believe their government must give those troops the means necessary to prevail on the battlefield. There is zero toleration right now amongst the Russian population for corruption. And what you're finding now that Putin's been mandated, look who's starting to get arrested. All the generals, all the guys that in the peacetime were making good money, even effective generals like, I think Colonel General Popov, commander of the 58th Army in the Southern Military District. He led the successful defense of the Zaporizhia front against the Ukrainian NATO counteroffensive of the summer of 2023. Should be given a gold star, hero of Russia. No, under arrest. What for? Corruption, mismanagement of resources. He was given money to do things and he didn't do it. Other people are getting arrested too. They're cleaning house. I'm not saying Shoigu was corrupt. I'm saying Shoigu was part of a system that had to tolerate corruption in order to keep Russia alive. That was one of the things about the early years of Putin, is that a certain amount of corruption had to be tolerated, because if you tried to shut it all down, the system goes into shock. Right now, the system is shock-proof by patriotism reflected in an election that gave Putin this broad mandate to clean house, and he's doing that. They replaced Sergei Shoigu with Andrei Belousov, an economist, a very good economist, by the way, so good that he predicted the 2008 economic downturn, the 2012 economic downturn. He's the great cardinal, the man who whispers in the ear of Vladimir Putin and the prime minister, and all the people telling them the reality of the economy. He doesn't sugarcoat anything. And so he's been picked to head the Ministry of Defense, not because of his military brilliance. He doesn't need to be militarily brilliant. He's going to make the military um, the Ministry of Defense get the biggest bang for its buck, and this should scare the living dog poop out of NATO. You see, because NATO and America have this military machine that is as corrupt, as inefficient as the day is long. We spend more money on nothing than you can possibly imagine. And the Russians were spending a lot of money on nothing too. And Belousov's job is now to come in and make sure that every ruble that gets allocated for defense gets spent on what it's supposed to do to maximize the output. The Russians already have PPP. It's late at night, Danny. PPP. It is something to deal with the fact that what costs in America doesn't.
Purchasing power parity. Purchasing power parity.
Purchasing power parity. Basically, that Russia gets a bigger bang for the buck. So that's why Russia can accomplish with $60 billion what we accomplish with $800 billion. But still, that 60 billion ain't getting squeezed in the way it knew. What Putin's going to do is turn that 60 billion into even more effective spending by making sure that there is no corruption, to fine tune the system, to get it to work the way it's supposed. And that's Belousov's. That's what he's known to do. So he's going to be set free on cleaning house in the Ministry of Defense to get defense industry functioning properly. And one of the key aspects of this defense industry too is that right now it's very hot. A lot of investment going into the defense industry. And the Russians have learned from their Soviet era experience that you can't have a defense industry that's too hot. That leads to imbalances in the in the economy, and compromises are made, and then the system falls apart. His job is to come in and keep the defense industry operating at maximum effectiveness, but to ensure that there's a balance with the civilian industry, so that the civilian industry doesn't get out of whack, that supply chains don't become too focused on defense, not focused on enough on this, especially in an area of sanctions where you can't buy from the West to make up for deficiencies in Russian civilian industry. The Russians right now have important things that have to be done from a civilian industry standpoint because of sanctions. And they've had that tremendous ability to reinvest money so that they can build the factories necessary to replace that. What you don't want is to be diverting all those resources into the defense industry, leaving these gaps that leads to a decline in overall economic health. This is strategic thinking on the part of Putin. Putin is thinking long term. He's not somebody sitting there going, I'm in a panic. The West is doing this, Ukraine. We have to maximize defense output. Damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. Let's do this, baby. He's sitting there going, hey, we're doing okay. We need to do a little bit better, but we have to do it in a way that's sustainable in the long term. Because Russia plans on winning this war and coming out of this war stronger than it comes in. And that's what Putin is doing. This is the political aspect of what's going on in Russia right now. Russia's becoming stronger by the day. They're cleaning house. They're becoming much more efficient in how they operate. There's no panic whatsoever. And Putin has this mandate that's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Now we go to the West. First of all, briefly, Ukraine. The most corrupt place on the planet, not a democracy. It's a dictatorship. Now we know it's a military dictatorship. Literally, the man who calls himself the president of Ukraine operates without an electoral mandate. He operates under martial law. He's a dictator. The parliament that he has, likewise, hasn't been elected properly. They've been extended operating under martial law to rubber stamp whatever the president wants them to rubber stamp. The president and the parliament are amongst the most corrupt in the world. Seymour Hersh, the great Pulitzer Prize winning investigative journalist, has talked about how William Burns, the director of the CIA, had to go into Ukraine and tell Zelensky, don't be so corrupt. You're too greedy. You took $400 million out of the last allocation. That's too much. You got to tone down your corruption. I mean, how is it? So America doesn't say don't be corrupt. America just says tone down your corruption because we understand the reality that there's an inherent level of corruption that has to be tolerated for Ukraine to exist.
We'll stop it right there. Okay. Go right back. And so Ukraine essentially is the United States. Okay. We set up shop over there years ago and made that place the most corrupt place on the face of the earth, right? It's our money, right? And that's why they're throwing so much money over there, okay? Again, Habakkuk 2 and 4, behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. No, he's over in Ukraine, using them as a proxy, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but garneth unto him all nations, and he heapeth unto him all people. Okay? So, yeah, it is, there's only one solution. Vlad understands because he's being forced, right, to defend himself. So, what will come of the situation? Revelation 11 and 14. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. They're going to have to fight this third world's war, right? Because this devil, the West, the Western devil, if you will, he's just not going to stop pushing. All right, you can push Vlad to his limit. Vlad has to defend himself. So be it. Mutually assured destruction. So anyway, that's some political jargon showing you, what's going on behind the scenes and what is forcing the hand of the Russian people to do what they must do. So the Medes are being stirred up. All right. So with that, we hope that the elect are ratified at some level. You brothers and few sisters, shalom.